Welcome to Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs. Now, we are entering the final 2 months of the 2025 Alberta Municipal election cycle. And that means across this province, candidates are stepping forward with visions for stronger communities, smarter growth, and even more responsive local governments. And today we are honored to be heading to Cold Lake, Alberta to sit down and chat with Cold Lake mayoral candidate Bob Mattice. Bob, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about yourself and talking about your run to be the next mayor of the beautiful city of Cold Lake, Alberta. I want to start with a very simplistic question, but it's an overarching one. And it's one that I ask every single person who's ever come on the show, so you're no exception. Where does your sense of duty to serve your community come from, Bob?
Largely from my past, like my parents were volunteers in communities that they lived in Saskatchewan. We lived in a lot of different places, and mom and dad were always volunteering for different service clubs or small town events and that. And I think that just kind of was ingrained in me. And the saying we used around our house, and I still do use it actually, is bloom where you're planted. So I feel I have a sense of duty to Cold Lake that's been a really good home for us for over 37 years. And we've made, our family and myself, we've made a really good living, and we've had a really good run here, having a really good run here. So
where did the desire to become a politician come from? Because, and I know you're about to say, I'm not a politician, I'm a municipal leader, but guess what? You're elected, so therefore you're a politician there, Bob. Where
yeah.
where does your sense of giving back to your community at a municipal political level come from?
Well, so I've been a resident of the city, so I've been a taxpayer in that regard. I've also been a small businessman for over 35 years. And so I tell people I pay tax in two different places, or have paid tax in two different spots. And I have an opinion on just about everything. It's not always the right opinion, but according to many, but I do have, I've been in, I enjoy watching politics from a distance, federal, provincial, and municipal. And when I was in my career, I'm going to mention it later because there's a joke coming, but I always just chose to run for council at the right time in my life. And the last term, the current term that we're on now, is the one that worked for myself and my family. So I enjoyed the inner workings and of council and watching how they did things. And sometimes when you think the opinion is what they're doing is incorrect, there's a reason for it. So that was something I always wanted to pursue, was why is this done this way, or how can we do it better? And I think that's a business thing too. So
After one term in office, your mayor, after 18 years, has decided to hang up his hat, Craig Copeland. And you announced earlier this, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from the media reports, back in about March or April, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong here, that you announced that you would be running for the top job this term. What made you decide that it was the right time? Because you say you're all about the right time, and it is the right time for you to run. Why was it the right time for Bob to be putting his name in to become the next mayor of Cold Lake?
well, it just kind of worked. Like, let's face it, Craig has been an excellent mayor. He has been a mayor for 17 years. He and the fellow councilors that he's worked with, councils, have set us on a good path to success as a city. We've done a lot of really good things and continue to do them. So Craig will leave a big set of shoes to fill for whoever takes his place. And I just felt with my current 4 years on council and some of the attributes that I'll share with you later on in our conversation, were that I do feel I'm the person that can do that with the experience on council and some of my other stuff. And I love living in Cold Lake. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's fun to be on council. So that's kind of my thought process. It's a good time in my career.
Which is ironic because you retired as a pharmacist during your time in office just recently. So I'm going to ask the very political, not political question. Did you retire to run for mayor? Did you retire just to retire? Because you're about to take on a new full-time job as mayor if you are the successful candidate in October. So which came first, the retirement or the decision?
A little bit of both, actually. So I tell people that this is a really good icebreaker with everybody, from young people to old people. What do you do for a living? I'm a drug dealer. And then I pause, the pregnant pause of 3 seconds. I go, wow, oh, sorry, I'm a pharmacist. Oh, we thought so. But it's just a good icebreaker. So I have had the pleasure of being a retail pharmacist or a community pharmacist for 44 years. I've only had one job ever, and well, I worked in a sawmill for 2 days, but I got fired for being lazy. So, but I became a pharmacist, and 44 years, 37 of them here in Cold Lake, and prior, I've been my entire career in Alberta. But I love being a pharmacist because it was such a great job. But there comes a time in everything that it's maybe time to retire. A lot of my classmates retired earlier, a year or two, but this works for me, being on council with the term coming up, having a vacancy with Mayor Copeland retiring. I made the decision to retire, and this will allow me to spend a full time being mayor, which I think Mayor Copeland has made it a full time job just with all the stuff that he does. So, and I'm okay with that, because I don't want to just retire and do nothing. So I'm
I
pretty good
want
at it.
I want to talk about the decision to run for council because you talked earlier on in the interview already about the qualities that will have to come into play when for the next mayor. What qualities in your background as a pharmacist makes you believe that you would be the best person to lead Cold Lake into the future? Because we're going to talk about some of the issues in a
Yeah.
few minutes here, and I've had the pleasure of sitting down with Craig, Mayor Copeland, sorry, in the past episode of the show, and I get a sense that there is a lot of challenges that are on the docket for the next term of council. What in your background, what qualities do you believe you have to ensure that you would be able to lead Cold Lake into the future, not only for 4 years, but for the next 50 years? And I'm not saying that you're going to be around for 50 years. You may, God bless you if you are. But if you are going to set the path of what Cold Lake will become for the next 50 years in your first term in office, what qualities do you have that can help you do that?
Well, I think to start with, I would just clarify that the mayor is only one person of a 7-member council. So there's a mayor and 6 councillors, similar to identical to what we have now. So I would be the person that's chairing the meetings, listening to people and adapting. The council makes the decisions on the advice of management and or like our good staff, and feedback from the public. So the mayor's position kind of was something I was interested in only because there was a vacancy. And when people ask me like the why, as I say it this way, I have a few attributes that I consider very valuable to this job. First off, I can speak business. I did own, my brother and I are both pharmacists, and we own 2 drugstores in Cold Lake here for 32, I had to think about this, I think it's 32 years. And recently, well, 5 years ago, we sold them. I continued to work as a pharmacist because I enjoyed it. And then, so we sold our business. So I understand small business, and I understand business like the budgeting process, the hiring, HR, stuff like that. The city's obviously a much bigger picture, but I do have experience, and even in some of the challenges that businesses have faced or continue to face, theft and some of the darker issues. I've walked in those shoes actually for a long time. Secondly, I speak healthcare. And that's a really hot button in Alberta and everywhere. So being a pharmacist, I have it seems to get more challenging every year, but I've been the front facing person that people can come in and ask questions. I don't have a doctor. What do I do? I can't get this done. And a community pharmacists, and there's so many in Alberta that do this, and Canada. We are kind of like a conductor. Like, what time does the bus come? When's the train coming? We facilitate people's health care. So I really enjoy doing that because it's helpful for people. So long story short is I can uh, I'm an empathetic person by nature, so I enjoy being able to help somebody get a doctor's appointment. Somebody comes in with an eye injury. I don't want to go to emergent, wait 6 hours. You can go to the optometrist because they can treat you, and there you'll get in quickly. So stuff like that. And my wife is also a registered nurse, so that's our family life is healthcare. And the third thing by nature is I'm generally empathetic. I'm a good listener, and I do consider myself an empathetic person, and kindness. And I think the world does, we need more kindness in the world, period, in our communities, period, and in politics. So I do enjoy being that person, or I do believe I could be that person.
So I want to start with the last one first and then work our way backwards, if you don't mind. The running thing that I often hear on my show is politicians have two ears and one mouth, so they should listen twice as much as they speak. Now, I'm not even going to imagine. I know I would probably put dollars a dime that I know that you have probably made some very tough decisions on around that council table in the 4 years that you have been on that council. We all have our own moral compass that we believe is what is right and what is wrong. Now, you make those decisions and you're going to have to stand by those decisions. As mayor, you're going to have to make a decision alongside your other council members and stand by those decisions. Who wins at that ultimate day? Because you say you go out and talk to people, people talk to you, you're empathetic, you listen to them. Do the residents of Cold Lake always win when it comes to matters of the community, or does your own internal compass always win? How do you make those tough decisions that are going to be best for the community?
Well, that's a really good question because, yeah, not everybody wins in a situation like, say, with taxes going up, or people that have worked so hard to get a new vehicle and it's broke into or stolen, and that. I think the first thing is people want to be heard with an empathetic ear, and they want to be listened to. So I think it's important to listen, as you say, twice as much as you talk, which is really tough for me, but I'm working on it. So I do believe it's important to be empathetic and to show up for things, and that's one of the things our current mayor does. He shows up for everything, like to events, and to he goes into he'll run into the fire as opposed to run away from it. So, and I think, yeah, there's yeah, no, I'm just going to leave it at that, actually. But in saying that, I think that's a role where, say, other people do very well at as well, but they don't like people talking about it either. They don't like. So to answer your question more specifically, I guess the issues that come to council are vetted through um, council, but also on the advice of our department heads and our CAO. We also have a long-term CAO of over 20 years in Cold Lake, so which is good. Consistency is good, and the council currently and past council have set us up on the path to succeed. And our tougher decisions have not been as tough as some other places have had to make because of that. So it's been a privilege and a pleasure to sit back and watch how a council works, or more specific, I guess, how a council works, but how a good mayor. Our current council, we have 4 new people on it and only 2 veterans, but again, we become very seamless, so good that way. So.
What are you hearing from people? And I shouldn't say people, but what are you hearing from the residents of Cold Lake? Because you talk about having an empathetic ear, and I'm assuming you're outdoor knocking and you're talking to people about what they want addressed in the upcoming 4 years. What are the issues that they're talking about right now? Because you mentioned 3 things that you think are the qualities of a good mayor: empathy, listening, healthcare, and I'm forgetting the third one right now, and you're probably going to correct me on it. But what are you hearing, and are they matching up with what you're talking about right now?
I would say so. Like, so the big things with a lot of people is a crime, insecure, like feeling safe in your home or in your yard, like etc. It's at your work. Um, it's been challenging for a lot of reasons, and the council has made a lot of attempts. This is a really tough problem, and it's everywhere. I think you know that is that it's everywhere in Canada or the world.
But it
So
seems to be more prominent in Cold Lake. And I'm not trying to interrupt or throw shade at
yeah, no.
what Cold Lake is going through. But when I was speaking to Mayor Copeland and I was speaking to other people who are from Cold Lake, they're saying that the crime is an issue. So how do we solve this? Because as the next mayor, you're going to have to try to help solve this issue alongside your council and your administration. Is it more RCMP officers? Is it working with the federal government to address the issues that are being sort of downloaded because of the, and I hate to throw them under the bus because I think they're great, the military, because you have CFB Cold Lake up there. What is the issue to solve the crime issue in Cold Lake? Or is it just a first step that you have to try and take to make sure that this is addressed in 4 years?
Well, the proverbial answer is D, all of the above. So, yeah, and I don't mean that lightly, but I just mean that you had mentioned about the area that we live in. We're kind of the hub for northeastern Alberta, similar as to what Grand Prairie is for northwestern Alberta, etc. So we have a lot of people coming into the area for various reasons: shopping, the lake, etc., etc. Medical, like a lot of services are provided here in Cold Lake. We also serve a big population across the border, like 10 miles east of us here is Saskatchewan. It's closer to come to Cold Lake than it is to go to the city of Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan. So we have that. We have added every year, the last few years, an RCMP officer to the Cold Lake detachment. And we've one of the things is, so a fun fact with that is you're aware of the government, you pay a percentage of your population. What I'm saying is that if you're under 15,000, if you're 14,999, you pay 70% of the police cost. Guess what? We went over 15. We're now 90%. So people, they want more policing. That also does come with a cost, though. So adding members. On the social side of the coin, we've developed relationships with different groups in Cold Lake, providing what we call, like, this is a Gila head-drawn monster of different things. Like, one thing is crime, the other is the compassion side. We want people to be safe and until we can address their social problems. So we're dealing with the feds, we're dealing with local government, we're dealing with the provincial side of it. So we've the city has built or owned on city-owned land, has bought a drilling camp a few years back. It's about 3 years, I think, 2 or 3, and brought it into Cold Lake and set it up for the John Howard Society to operate a MAT program, so that in the winter people are they're housed overnight on a mat. They're fed 2 or 3 times a day. But more importantly, they're also, they do such good work there. They can get you a mailing address so you can get your checks directly deposited. They can help you with filling out job applications and career coaching. And then this September, actually about 2 weeks from now, we're opening up, it's called the Stepping Stones. It used to be the Margaret Savage Center. So this is a huge win for Cold Lake. Stepping Stones provides care for women and families and their pets, which is very important to people. Unfortunately it's the biggest building in Cold Lake, so, which is kind of sad in one way, but it's a good win for us. And again, incredible work coming out of this place as well too. They're operating now, they have been for a number of years, but they're moving into a bigger building with programming, and they're doing a really good job. So we watch them with envy. They've been in our community already, but we welcome their efforts, on a grander scale. We work with Lakeland Center for FASD, which is fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And this group of people have been around forever. They're celebrating their 25th anniversary here this year.
Wow.
It's really cool. And this is a program that actually started out in Cold Lake by some people. And they're doing work where they're getting flown to Australia. Tell us what you do. Tell us what your wins are. So this is a huge program. They don't get the publicity they deserve. So we have these people in place. It's just how do we get money from the government? Our relationship with our Cold Lake First Nations partners. How do we all work together? And there's no easy answer to that. One of the things the city has done during the current term, we've also approached Alberta Justice. Like we sat down with Minister Amory, and why is this going on? Why is catch and release so prevalent? We've taken some steps towards that. I can't really talk about them, but we're on this. Like, we're not ignoring it and hoping it goes away.
So it brings up a good point, because I'll let you say that you can't talk about everything, which is understandable, because there are legal land and labor issues that you can't talk about that are in camera. But what I can ask is, though, more and more municipal leaders across Canada are calling on the federal government to change the way that bail reform has been done. We're seeing it in North Battleford just recently. We see it in Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. We're seeing more and more Alberta municipal leaders sort of take a stand on the change in bail reform that is needed. Are you in support of changing the bail reform so we don't have these repeat offenders back out on the street once they do go into the court system, and then they're back out on the street within a day, or some even hours?
Within hours, yeah. And we just commissioned a study with our staff, and it showed one prolific offender had 165 charges against him, and literally, yeah, I know, and literally charged, released on a notice to appear, and committed different things the same day. So we are very aware of the problem. Ironically, you're seeing different municipalities are showing that there is crime has went down in their area. And so we're hoping that the RCMP are doing a good job, and it's a thankless job. Like, I'm arrested in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'm back in cells. So we are working with them. We meet and ask, what are your priorities as a city? Because you're paying 90% of our salary.
I just want to clarify something, because you just said something, and I'm not sure if it was off the cuff or just something that I misinterpreted. For those who are listening, Bob did not mean he's arrested in the cell that night. It's the criminals are, because you said I'm arrested and then I'm back in the cell by later on tonight. So I'm just clarifying that for people who might take that out of context.
I was going to use Chris, but I thought, well, I'll be self-deprecating, and I'll throw shade at myself too, just to be fair, not to be, yeah, that I did say Bob was, but I wasn't.
So I want to. There's about 3 questions I need to ask here, and I want to start with a very poignant question, but I apologize if it comes out of nowhere. You seem like a guy who likes to please people, like to have people like them. With your job as a pharmacist, as a stand-up comedian, because that's what you have done in the past as well.
Yes.
It seems like you gain pleasure from people saying yes to you, or you saying yes to them. Can you say no to people? Because there's a lot of macro issues that we can talk about on this show, in this interview, whether it be crime, whether it be healthcare, whether it be infrastructure funding. But there are going to be some times that you're going to have to say no to people, whether it be, we need a bigger indoor pool, we need more services for this, but you just can't afford it because the municipality can't run deficits at the end of the day. Breaking news to everyone who's running for council. Yeah. Municipalities already can't run deficits. So if you're saying that we're going to rein in spending and stop running deficits, you're lying. You can't. Municipalities, by law, cannot run deficits.
Correct. Yeah.
So that means you have to say no to people. Can you do that?
I have learned how to by watching Mayor Copeland do it. And that's the thing. When I was thinking about running, I go, okay, I will watch intently how he does things, because you're learning at the feet of the master, basically. And I am by nature a people pleaser, because in healthcare, outcomes, if they're positive, are great. In business, owning a business, outcomes, if they're positive, are great for the business owners. And I can hire more staff, I can give wages, etc. I can pay more taxes, and etc. So that is one of the tougher questions. I think I will have to learn how to, and I have been learning, and I'm okay with the challenge of that. So
I appreciate that. But on the flip side, there are going to be times that you're going to have to stand up and beat your chest a little bit and get the attention of the provincial government. Now, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is Highway 28. It
yeah.
is the highway that seems to be the bane of Cold Lake's existence. It is the issue that continuously comes up in any conversation I have when it comes to Cold Lake. How do you anticipate you working alongside Minister Dreeshen of Transportation and Economic Corridors, alongside the Premier Danielle Smith, to ensure that this project, this highway, finally gets its due for the people of Cold Lake? Can you actually call a spade and raise a little, and I hate to use this word because I know we're on TV and we're on YouTube, but raise a little
A
hell?
song by Trooper.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
sing a song by Trooper that they open, and the only band in Canada that opens the show with the same song and closes it with the same song. Fun fact. So there we go. So the short answer is yes. I have a long-term relationship with our MLA, Scott Sear. I have met the Premier. Everybody's met the Premier, and you get your 15 seconds of, thanks for everything. But in saying that, we are getting we're getting near the not the end of our rope, but we need this done, and we can point out that the money of royalties from gas and oil that comes out of Cold Lake more than warrants the need for that. So I guess I'll have to.
I appreciate that. I want to turn to a topic that you've touched on a lot during this interview, and it's one that seems to be a passion of yours, and that is healthcare. Now, healthcare is a provincial issue. It
Yeah.
is mandated by the province, but more and more municipalities today are playing in the municipal realm, or in the healthcare realm, because they have to recruit doctors. They have to ensure that doctors are keeping the ERs open, because if it's closed, I'm assuming your MLA is not getting the phone call. You're getting the phone call. Your councilor, the mayors are getting the phone calls. How do you envision working with the province to fortify the healthcare system up in Cold Lake? Because that will be priority number one, it sounds like for you, is to ensure that the healthcare access continues to be top notch in the community.
I think it's one of the number of probably top three priorities. So again, on feedback from the public and stuff, but certainly everybody wants and deserves quality medical care. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because I was going to anyway. So is one of the things that the city has taken on itself to do. We've kind of got tired of the lobbying, and we need more doctors. We actually started. It's called an MCC. And I always have trouble with this acronym: municipally controlled corporation. So we set up a corporation through the city, which you can do through. You can give me the
Oh
if I
no,
should.
it just for some reason my phone just went off and I was like, I thought I had it on silent, so I'm gonna cut this part out. So if you want to go right back to the beginning, just
Okay,
because I don't know why that was going off, so I'm just gonna okay, let's go back to the original question about the reason, like
yeah.
ensuring adequate health care. And I apologize for that phone call that
Yeah,
just
no
happened.
worries. No, I kind of ramble too. So, so what I was really wanting to say is the city has kind of taken it on ourselves to get a novel way of, or something different. Or the same thing was not working. So we started up at MCC, Municipally Controlled Corporation, and what we did, the city put their own money, or the taxpayers' money. We bought a medical clinic. We bought a building. Yep. And it's public news. We get other municipalities phoning us. How do you do this? Send us all your documents in Word form, please. And I'm like, shouldn't you be paying for that? Actually, cut that out too. So we bought we bought a medical clinic, land and a medical clinic. And then with that, we manage the clinic for the doctors, because a lot of our doctors coming in are from outside of Canada. So how do I get a receptionist? How do I pay a phone bill? How do I do this? We're doing it for them. There are tenants, where they're landlords and their support system. So also involved with that is we get them, we bring them to the community. We pick them up at the airport and bring them here. We help them get housing. I'll just segue at the end into another part of what we do. But the clinic itself has been very successful in getting doctors to come up here and see, see the beautiful. We tour them around. We show them the schools. We show them the marina. We show them the Kinnasoo Beach, Lakeshore Drive. In the south, we show them some of the amenities outside of the city. So once we show them and address their questions and stuff. And then we say, we can help you get set up. So it's literally turnkey operation. And we're looking at expanding on that footprint too. So that's been a big thing for us. That's a huge win. So
we are in the midst of a economic crisis, and I say that lightly because I know some people, when you use the word crisis, people may say it's overblown, others may say it's not. I want to start with in this line of questioning, a question that is on a lot of people's minds right now. Does the municipality of Cold Lake, does the city of Cold Lake spend their tax dollars wisely?
I believe that we do. And the reason I say that is because when we have a project, we debate it, and we've had to make some cutbacks on certain amenities that we've been doing. The previous councils and the current mayor have done a really good job in stepping the processes. We have long-term priorities that we are doing. For instance, we're building a public works shop in Cold Lake. Now, at this point in time, our current one is over 50 years old, so it outlives its usefulness, like it's past its lifetime. So we're building a new one, and we're putting it in the center of the two cities, Grant Center and Cold Lake. And with that, we'll look at, okay, what are we doing? What do we need to do in this building? We need a bus wash, because fun fact here, Cold Lake has a public transit system. One of the few small communities to have a public transit system. It's free. It's free.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it
Yeah.
was paid. Okay.
Yeah, we've done initially with the startup being a smaller community. There's been some federal grants that we've been able to ascertain, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is that it's free. Is it allows people. Cold Lake's a very diverse community, as are many communities in Alberta, but with our temporary foreign workers and people coming in, our medical doctors and their spouses coming from out of country. We have people from the Philippines, we have people from India working jobs, and we have a lot of people from Africa. So what it allows a community to do, so dad's got a job out at Synovus, he gets the car, mom can get the bus to her job, and the kids can get the bus to school. So it allows people to say, okay, where am I going to go? Where I'm going to move to, there's free busing. So that's something that we pride ourselves on. Like there's some warts in the system, but generally, like having free busing we think that's a huge win for us. So.
More
and
and more.
it's yeah.
I'm going to just jump in. More and more people are finding that municipalities are taking on more responsibilities because they see, and I say the municipality sees a gap in services that they can provide. The next mayor of the city of Cold Lake will have to work with business leaders, nonprofit organizations to deliver services that the municipality can sort of walk away from. And I say walk away from in the sense that you don't provide that services, nonprofits provided. The business community provides that. How do you envision your relationship with nonprofits and business community in Cold Lake in the 4-year term if you are the successful candidate on October 20th?
Well, our idea is always to talk with the experts in the realm of where you're going. So in the case of business, like the Cold Lake Chamber of Commerce would be a huge partner with us. And going back to security in the community, we actually worked in a partnership with the chamber to just address some of the vagrancy issues and the crime downtown. So the city actually, again, using the taxpayers' hard-earned dollars, we paid a private security firm to supplement with the RCMP and our peace officers, and so we had RCMP police officers and a private security firm doing down the back alleys and the nights, and then we had a bylaw that if the person was found in this hot zone and had no reason to be there, they could be issued a ticket. So working with those guys, and then our other files like the homelessness and that, we work with the experts on the subject, and see, we don't tell you what you need, but we'll ask you what can we do together. So, and we're long-term planners too. So theoretically.
I feel like we've touched on a lot of subjects here in the last half hour, but I want to sort of turn to the next month and a half, because you're going to have to go out and speak to as many residents as possible of that 17,000, if I'm not mistaken, 15,000 people.
17,533.
See, I knew the mayoral candidate would know how many people are in their community. If they didn't, then that'd be a very awkward question to ask. So you have to get out in front of as many people as possible. And we've talked about a lot of things over the last half hour, and there's going to be probably people who say, those are great, but I have my issue that's important to me. I have X issue that's important to me. These potholes that always cause a pain in my bum, that are always the bane of my existence, that cause me to go to the local garage every week because I have to get my tires changed. When you're talking to people and they're talking about those very micro issues, but they're very macro to
Yep.
them, are you, because you've been so entwined in the community for so long, are you shocked about what you're hearing, or are you not surprised about the issues that people are going through right now in the community?
I'm not shocked by them, but because people have always had, the gophers in your backyard eating your tomato plants are important to you because you grew those tomato plants. You want to eat them. The potholes and stuff like that, they're important to the people asking, like the macro, and the macro stuff's good, and so is the minor stuff too. Not minor, but micro. There's the word. So yeah, and I've lived that life for a number of years with people when I visit with them at my former place of employment. So
What does the future of Cold Lake have in store for it if Bob Mattice becomes the next mayor of the great city of Cold Lake?
well, my underlying goal is just to continue the good work that the previous councils and mayor have put us on a path to continue on. We have an exciting opportunity with the military, CFB Cold Lake, the biggest fighter base in Canada, with the F-35 project coming. That's going to cause a huge economic boom to the area with the construction, everything going on. So our responsibility as a city is to work with Four Wing and the federal government to housing, shopping, Highway 28, like to provide the ability for the people to come up here and like where they live. So again, like affordable housing, rent, affordability, food. There's businesses that want to come up and look at Cold Lake. So we're on a growth pattern. We feel that we are, and we're pretty happy with that. So.
What's priority number one for a mayoral Mattis term?
Again, just to continue to keep the ship running and look for opportunities that come up before us.
But okay, so you've said that a few times, and I'm gonna call you out a little bit here.
Okay.
There might be some people. There might be some people in Cold Lake right now listening to this and saying, "Why would I vote for Bob? Because he's just going to be another term for Craig Copeland." How do you differ from Craig? How do you put your stamp on the city of Cold Lake without make it seem like you're just running to continue on with what Craig has done? Mayor Copeland, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think with servant leadership, it doesn't have to be Bob Mattice City. It's the city of Cold Lake. So I just admire the work that he's done, and it's not about me. It's about the city of Cold Lake and its residents. So, and I take no offense to the question. It doesn't. I'm not. I don't need to put my stamp on things. I just need to put in the work and make sure that it gets done properly and oversee what's going on. So I'm kind of good that way.
So we're nearing the 40-minute mark, and we've got about 5 minutes left before I ask my final two questions. So
Okay.
we've talked about a lot over the last 40 minutes, and it seems like we've scratched the surface. What
I
do you
got
want?
one more thing I need to get in.
Well, and that's what I'm about to ask. And that's the question I was about to ask. What's the one thing? What are things that we have not talked about that you want to make sure people know about yourself, about the city of Cold Lake, and what you want to see it become if you are elected mayor? And this is your time. So take as long as you need
Okay.
and tell me about what's the thing that we have not talked about that you want to make sure people know about yourself and your campaign.
Okay, so what hasn't been talked about yet in our interview, which is fun, by the way. I this is great. I like doing this. So, is a we call it PILT, the PILT file, payment in lieu of taxes, has been. There you go. I did my homework. Yeah. So the
You're
PILT
speaking
file.
my love language there, Bob. You're speaking my
Okay.
municipal love language. Go
So
ahead.
move up. Yeah, move up to Cold Lake, and you can vote for me. So, but it's not about me. Anyway, so PILT, for those of that you that don't know, has been going on since the year 2012, 13 years. And what it is, payment in lieu of taxes on the base, the tax assessment. The government won't pay you on what your airline hangar is worth. They'll give you a value on that. And past mayor and councils have disputed the value of this being too low. And as a result, the city has went, and the past councils and mayor have been doing this for, as I say, 13 years, went to a dispute process with the government. And I want to be really, really, really clear on this. This is not a dispute with our good neighbors, Canadian Forces Base Cold Lake. It's another arm of the federal government, PSCP, which is Public Service and Procurement. So they're the bricks and mortar guys that make sure things are running. So it's not with the military base, because a lot, like at public meetings, people say, well, just cut off their water. Well, no, no, that's not the thing to do. So anyway, it's not with the base, but we
Before you
made.
go on, I just gotta say the best scenario is you do you really want to cut off the water to a military base? Like, don't get me wrong. I know we should be serious right now because it's a serious issue, but I don't want to go up against the Canadian military at all. That would be the worst thing you could do. But continue on.
I think so. No, exactly. And when somebody said that, I said, okay, so do 513 Lakeshore Drive if you're going to strafe somebody's house. That's my brother's house. I live near him, but I gave them their address. So, but anyway, the PILT file, we've recently had a really good win from the federal government, or sorry, the dispute process. We're getting closer to the finish line. We don't know that we've got it across the goal line yet, but sorry, I just gotta look at my notes here just for a second. Yeah, just the recent judgment has been in our favor, and we'll see what the next process is. And the amount of money is huge. It's over, like, it's estimated at over $10 million that we've been short paid over the years, roughly about $1 million a year. So
So
our
can
taxpayers,
I
me and you, go ahead.
can I this may be something you may not be able to ramble off the top of your head because most people don't even know this, but what's a 1% tax increase in the city of Cold Lake equal out to across the board?
We think it's a little around $250,000.
So take that in consideration, Cold Lake residents, because $10 million over 10 years. Imagine how much that would have saved you as a taxpayer. And it's
Yes.
not, we're not done yet. It's still at the end of the rope, but I just want to make sure that I understand that context
Yeah.
because if I'm asking the question, someone else is probably asking that too. So about $250,000 to $1 million that you're losing over a year because the Canadian government, I say Canadian government, not the military, the Canadian
Our
government
government.
isn't
Yeah,
paying their,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so that's a thing, $10 million, and we're close. We do feel, and I don't want to take a lot of credit for this because this was done. The heavy lifting was done years ago, but we will celebrate as a city of residents of Cold Lake if we get this money, and then we will look at what to do with it upon advice from the public, etc. So and our council will make a decision. So PILT is cool. So
PILT is cool, and I was going to mention it, but I didn't know what the acronym was. For some reason, I thought I kept on thinking GPOT, but I was like, it's not GPOT. GPOT is government taxes in lieu of government payments in lieu of taxes, or whatever it is, government loans. I
I
don't
did not
even.
know that. So now I
So
do.
that's the federal provincial government paying money to municipalities for the cost of courthouses because we don't tax their
Yeah.
courthouses. So, but I want to, the second last question I have for you, and it gets to know how much you know about your own campaign a little bit. How can people get in touch with you? How can people get a hold of you? Because there's going to be probably people who say, Chris, you didn't ask this question. This is the most important question to me, and I want to Bob on the record about that. But
Okay.
this is my show, so I get to ask the questions I want to ask.
Yeah.
So, for the residents of Cold Lake, Bob, who are thinking about putting their trust in you and voting for you on October 20th and in advance voting, how can they get a hold of you and ask you the questions that are important to them?
Okay. I have a website, or sorry, not a website yet. I have a email address, Bob Mattice for the number 4 mayor, and at Gmail. Sorry, I'm stumbling here. So my Facebook
Well,
page,
hold
Bob.
on two
You can.
seconds. I'll let you do it over again if you want, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask you. So I'm gonna re-ask the question and then I'm gonna let you jump in. But if you want to get a brochure to make sure you get the right names, you can. Okay.
I don't have one handy. I'll just
Okay.
give you.
Anyway, so I'm gonna say something and then you can go from there.
Okay.
So before I let you go, I have one second final question, and then I'm gonna ask my final question in 2 seconds. And it gets to know how much you know about your own campaign. Now, for those who are listening, for those who are watching, the links that Bob is going to announce are in the show notes below. If you're watching this on TV, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on audio streams, go to our website, crossborderinterviews.ca, click on the link for this episode, which is Cold Lake Votes 2025, mayoral candidate Bob Mattice. I'm going to get that right by the end of
Everybody
this
does it.
interview. And you can check out the entire links. But Bob, how can people get a hold of you? Is there emails, phone numbers, websites, Facebook pages that you want people to know about?
Yeah, so at this point, I have a Facebook page, Bob Mattice for mayor, and the 4 is the number 4 for mayor. And then I also have an email address, Bob Mattice for mayor at gmail.com.
Perfect. And again, those will be in the show notes below. So I highly recommend you check them out. So this is my final $1 million question. Because this is the
Okay.
point in time in the interview where I turn over the microphone to you, and you can speak for as long or as short as time as you want on this episode. Now, why should people put their trust in you on October 20th to become the next mayor of the great city of Cold Lake, Alberta?
Okay. Well, I think with the experience that I've outlined in business, healthcare, I've been on a number of committees, which over the 37 years, but we didn't touch on any of them because they're the stuff that people that do things in every town, city, or summer village, they do these things. They're worth mentioning only, like I've been on them, but they don't need to be mentioned in this forum. So, and again, I think with the healthcare, the strength of the healthcare, the business, and just the interest in politics. And I really think it's important that a person be on council before they become mayor for their, understanding the MGA, Municipal Government Act, and knowing how to develop the relationships, etc. Yeah, because my first year, I was like, I don't really know what I don't really know here. So it's we called it drinking from a fire hose. So it's important to learn how to be in a meeting, how to run a meeting, and in some of our some of our other stuff that we do. We're also on committees, like to further, like I'm on the MCC committee because I know it's important to me. I'm on FCSS, Family Community Social Services, to welcome newcomers and stuff to Cold Lake and continue our relationship with the Cold Lake First Nations and that. And all of us have our subspecialties, and then some of us are in areas that we're just learning these things, but it's fun. I really like being a counselor. So I think that's my reason. I want to continue, and I just look forward to asking them two things. One is please vote, because municipal elections are poorly. We're in around 20-25%, which is actually, this is where you see the stuff. This is where you can see the rubber hitting the road, because you're driving the road. So I think it's important to vote, and I would like to ask humbly for your vote on October 20th.
Bob is extremely right. The best saying I've ever heard when it comes to municipal governments is, you are the government of proximity. You are literally where the government hits the pavement to the road, the rubber hits the road in your communities. So get involved, get engaged, check out all the candidates that are running. I should mention, just to make sure that people are aware, that if you are running in Cold Lake and you want to be featured on this show, please reach out to us and we would love to have you on the show. We have 343 municipalities across this province that we're going to be covering over the next few months as we head into October 20th. So if you want to be featured on the show, reach out to me, because I have way too much time on my hands that I don't have enough time to reach out to everyone individually. Bob, it is a pleasure. It is an honor to have you on the show. Best of luck in your campaign, and I look forward to having you back on the show in the near future. Okay?
Yeah, thank you. It was great meeting you, and we had a fun time.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs. We hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights. Editorial note: if you are a candidate running in this upcoming election and want to be featured on this show, please reach out to us by visiting our website, click on the Contact Us page, or send us a direct message on social media. We would love to hear why you're running in this important election and what you're hearing from your constituents. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss an upcoming episode of Municipal Affairs, Alberta Municipal Votes, or even cross-border. Your support means the world. So share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and keep the conversation going. Till next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we will be back with a brand new episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 shortly.